Well, welcome back, everybody. Christian Runners UK, and I've got a great interview that I'm looking forward to today, and it's with the wonderful Matt Lane. How are you doing, Matt?
Yeah, hi everyone. Yeah, not too bad today. Thank you very much, Jason. Not too bad at all.
Fantastic.
Good to see you, and hope you're well as well.
Yeah, well, you've got to keep trying, haven't you? You know what I mean? We all have those ups and downs, and we just got to battle on with whatever life throws at us.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll learn a little bit from you in a minute about that. But we'll talk a little bit about your running, and then we'll get into the Christian part of it. But for all our viewers that'll be watching, whereabouts in the UK do you live?
So we're down in delightful sunny Swindon. So down in Wiltshire. So I've been here about 4 years now. Before that, we were in Andover. But do have some tenuous links to Yorkshire. My dad moved up there in 1986, so he's in Pickering. So we've got some tenuous links to up north.
Yeah, it's I mean it's a lovely part of the world. You know what I mean? I've got to say that.
It is. It is.
But yeah, so how did you get in? How did you get into running then, Matt? Have you done it from a little toddler, or how did you start?
No, I hated running as a kid. Some stupid idiot, called me, decided to join up the army in 1984. And again, army and fitness, they meant to go hand in hand, but most of us hated it because you're told you have to do it. So you're going out yomping in your boots, 8 miles, combat fitness test or your basic fitness test, 1.5 miles in boots. And you had to do it in under, a certain time. Just hated it. But, as time progressed, never really excelled at it or anything. And then I got but I loved playing football. So got a nasty Achilles injury about back end of 97.
Right.
Took quite a while to recover. And again, because I was then very sedentary, the Kegosaurus built a little bit. And became quite overweight for myself. Got to about 15 stone. And then a friend would always tease me about the fact that he loved running and everything else. Teased me, and we were out in Germany, and he entered us both into the RAF Bruggen 10,
right,
which was around the airfield of RAF Bruggen. And I thought, whatever, give it tried a little bit of running. Didn't I think I did about 3 miles, my longest run.
Was that like your first race then that you started?
Yeah, that was my first race, and didn't know really anything about it, or just thought you just turn up and run. How difficult can it be? It was hard, but I don't know. It bit me. I just loved the event of running, even though it was I really struggled. There was something about getting the medal. There was something about people cheering you on. There was something about this is something I could enjoy.
Yeah.
And so when we got posted back to England later that year, I hooked up with a running club and just started getting the buzz.
Brilliant.
And before I knew it, I was running everything from 5Ks up to marathons. So long that continued. I did one ultra race. That was all.
Well, we had lovely Rosie last week.
Yeah.
An ultra runner.
But again, there is a slight difference between what Rosie does and this daft ultra, because you could throw a tennis ball to any point of my ultra.
Right.
It was around a 400-meter track for 6 hours.
Oh dear me. That's a mind blower. That must be that.
But that event is the Crawley AIM 6 and 12 hours, and I'm going to give her a bit of a plug on here because again, we need to interview Pam Story, who's another Christian Runner UK. She runs that event. And I was due to run it the year before, but I got viral pneumonia and couldn't, and then went back and did it.
It's definitely on my list to interview. You know what I mean? I'm going to try my best to work through as many as I can, but Absolutely.
But again, you might think that a 6-hour track marathon, track ultra, you might think, "Oh, Bennett, how boring." Yes, it is boring. You changed directions at halfway, which is
that's nice of them.
But it's the only race that you get to see every competitor all the time.
Yeah.
And at one point, it's about the 4.5, 5 hour mark. I was quite tired.
Yeah.
That I started walking with the leader of the 12-hour race, because the 12-hour race starts 3 hours before and finishes 3 hours after.
Oh, yeah.
And we were having our lunch together, walking around the track. Where else can you get that sort of element out of running? And it's events like that.
I might have to give it a go one day. You're selling me a little bit.
But it's just one of those. You just push yourself, and I treated it. I've got to admit, I treated it initially as a marathon, and then realised that
keep going.
The wheels fell off the bus at about 3.5 hours.
But I've got you sent through some of your stats, so just to tell people sort of what you achieved, I'll just go through a few of them because they're brilliant. You know what I mean? So it sort of shows what kind of runner you are or what you've been in the past. But I've got your mile time as 5:29, so that's some good going. A 5K of sub 18, so you've got about 17:46. So I know what that feels like, so that's good. And a 10K of 37:49, which again is a brilliant time. And a marathon, your best marathon 3:13. So again, that's fantastic. So what sort of distance would you say you preferred to run?
I really like the 10-mile events.
Right. Yeah.
But again, 10 halves and also the marathons. Marathons, I did about 25 in total.
Right. Fantastic.
I would say, I had 2 really good races.
Yeah.
But they weren't necessarily my PBs.
Right.
And the way I say that is, you prepare for a marathon and you know what shape you're going to be in. And both those times I realised that I wasn't going to be in the shape I wanted to be.
Yeah.
So changed my plans.
Right.
And as a result of changing the plans, the expectation levels disappear, the pressure disappears.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can then, I found that I could plan better. So, London 2015, I aimed to do sort of 3:22.5.
Yeah.
And I came in 3:22.15.
Yeah.
Just perfect. Yeah. And Edinburgh again in 2018, which was actually my last marathon.
Yeah.
I'd planned 3:45 and did it in 3:43.
Yeah.
And again, with no issues, no walking, no drop of pace.
Yeah.
So, but that comes through from getting your training right.
Yeah.
And a lot of that I'd learned from a friend who's also a coach.
Yeah.
And he really instilled. He's the one that got me to break my 3:15 initially, purely by the fact that I kept wanting to break 3:30, and I just could not do it. And it took me, I think it was my 10th marathon when I eventually got below 3:30, which was actually the 3:15.
Yeah.
Because he coached me, and he said, "Look," he said, "we're friends. I'll coach you." And he set me up a really good training plan. And the biggest important thing was to run your speed work fast, but your slow runs slow.
Absolutely.
And he said, "You will be surprised. They come to meet." And he said, "The biggest mistake you can make is going out doing your long runs at marathon pace or fast pace. By the time you get to your marathon, you're knackered."
Oh yeah. And I've done a lot of marathons myself, so I know exactly what it feels like. And to have I've trained a lot myself, but years ago I did have a coach, and I think it's important if you really want to achieve something, somebody just telling you, do this. I think that really helps. And even in the Christian Runners Circle now, we've got a few coaches. We had Luke on a few weeks ago, and even myself, I'm a coach, and there's a few of us that are out there which can give advice. So If anybody's watching this,
I'm another one.
another one there, and so I'm sure you'd say the same. If anyone's out there and needs that little bit of help, if it's a 1 mile up to a marathon or ultra, just drop us a line, and I'm sure you would help.
Most definitely. And again, 22 years of the running that I have done. I've experienced a lot. I've done virtually most races. I've done the trail races, I've done the fast flat races, I've done the hard hilly races.
Before we get off running side, anyway, we've got to mention the wonderful park run. Okay. I know how many park runs you've done, but I want you to tell everybody, Matt, how many park runs you have done.
Well, it starts with a 5, and then it's got 15 after the end of it.
Fantastic.
So
515 park runs.
515 at the moment we're sitting at.
So
just think, if it hadn't been for COVID, I've done 51 virtual park runs now. So if it hadn't been for that, we'd have been up at 566 now.
So that to do 500, that takes, does it work out about 9.5, 10 years, doesn't it, running?
Yeah, I started, and again, it was my friend, the coach that I had. He New Year's Day, he just rang me up, sort of the New Year's Eve, and said, I'm going up to Bushy Park to do a 5K tomorrow morning, free of charge. Do you fancy it? Yeah, why not? And I didn't really know it's called Bushy Park Time Trial at the time.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind that only came into existence in 2004. With a few elites. So I came in New Year's Day 2007. Basically, I hit 250. I think it was 2013.
Wow.
And then December 2019, hit the magical 500. Which is quite amazing. Something.
Just amazing. You know what I mean? So I'm sure if anybody wants to know anything to do with parkrun, you're the man. You've got more experience than any of us. I'm halfway there anyway, so I've still got a long way to go to 500.
But parkrun is such a good thing, and again, I just love it. I've always had the name of Run for Jesus as my pseudonym name, and again that's helped with Christian. But again, ever since I got my Christian runner's vest from you back in, I think it was about 2014.
Right. Yeah.
That long ago.
Wow.
I
bet I had a bit more hair then. Did you have a bit more hair too?
Yeah, possibly. But we're brothers, aren't we?
Yeah,
just a different mother.
Yeah.
But again, when I had RFJ on my vests and bits and pieces, people saying, "Well, that's not you. Where's that? What's that name?" And I say it's Run for Jesus, and it's that's what it stands for. But then, of course, when we got the Christian Runners vest, put that on the park run results, and you wear your T-shirt, and again, the amount of times I've worn the T-shirt, and somebody's just come up and said, "Hey, T-shirt," and they've got the same, same Nigel Sluman, down here in Swindon, there's a couple of other people down here that have got the T-shirt, and other people say, "I love your T-shirt, I'm Christian as well," and it's brilliant. It's just really encouraging. It's really supportive both ways, and so parkrun is just such a community event that I can't wait to get back to. I can't run them anymore, but I've got my poles which I'll walk with and encourage.
So to let people know, obviously, your pedigree as a runner is absolutely fantastic in what you've achieved. So why, if you're willing, if you want to tell people sort of why have you sort of stopped? You've hung your running shoes up, haven't you?
Yeah. So I hung my running shoes up in October last year. And if I rewind, I've always gone by the nickname of Mr. Bump as well.
Yeah, I've seen you. You've got a vest. You've got a vest, haven't you?
Yeah. Not because of the Kegosaurus down here, but because I've got a tendency of falling over.
Right.
And never really thought about it. Really, we just thought it's just one of those things, eyesight or just, tiredness, fatigue. But after I'd done Edinburgh Marathon in 2018, my daughter asked me to do the Frome Half Marathon event with her, and she was doing the 10K. I thought, yeah, no worries, normal training.
Yeah.
Looking to probably go, sub 90, which was sort of my markers and my aims.
Yeah.
I just woke up in the morning and I thought, there's something not right. There really is something not right. Went to the race and started running, and I just could not bring my leg through properly, my right leg.
Right.
And to cut the long and short of it, I cut down to the 10K, really slow time, because I had to, I just could not cope with it. Knew something was up. Went and saw a physio. As you bypassed the GP, because I thought, well, GP's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
I thought it was a trapped nerve or something like that. So 4 months the physio, it didn't really get much better. And so, in the end, went to the doctors. They booked me up to see the specialists. Then the specialist saw me. He said, yeah, there's definitely some nerve damage there. We need to do an MRI and take some blood tests. Then got called back in rather quickly to be confronted with this MRI image with loads of white lesions all around my head and down my spine. And I just looked at it and I thought, uh-oh. And I'm thinking, I was thinking big C. I've got to admit, I was thinking that. And I sort of said to the specialist, well, is this cancer? And she said, no, it's not cancer, but it is life-changing. And she said, you've got what we believe at the moment is multiple sclerosis.
Right.
Which is obviously a neurological disorder. It's affecting my body. And again, to the extent that I really struggled now to be able to, I can't run. That's for certain at the moment, because of the fear of falling over.
But you're still getting yourself
that's
out.
just getting more and more.
You're still getting yourself out. I've seen some pictures with your poles.
Yeah, I'm still getting myself out. So I've got a couple of poles, and I've also got an exercise bike that I have. The wife said that I can even put it in the living room. What a sweetie she is. And I believe you're going to be interviewing her next week, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. So, for everybody that's watching this, obviously, thanks for sharing that, Matt. And it is life-changing, especially, I'm still running and competing when we can. And to be able not to do that, it's hard. And I'm asking Christian runners out there to pray for you, and
please,
obviously, what's the future? Could be stable, or is it just we don't know?
Well, I'm on a medication at the moment called Ocrevus, which is an immunosuppressant. So hence why we're at 2:00 in the afternoon and I'm in my living room, because I can't really leave the house other than to do a little bit of exercise. So I'm not in work at the moment. I have a job, but they're supporting me fantastically.
What job do you normally do, Matt? What job normally do you do?
So I used to be a lead safety manager. So health and safety is my sort of forte. But because of the way the MS has affected me and fatigue, it's just very difficult. So work have redeployed me, and I now work on the ticket barriers down at Bath Spa, which I absolutely love. But I will just intervene. I work for GWR, Great Western Railway, or more. I can't say the word now. More lovably known as God's Wonderful Railway.
Well, actually, Matt, it's funny how you said that, because I actually brought one of my trains along. You see, that's about the only train I've got. I thought I'd just make you feel at home a little bit. It's one of my granddaughters. I look for Thomas or George, but that's best I can do. I'm sorry. Choo-choo.
Once upon a time,
I like trains.
I do, and when I was in the army, I worked for 79 Railway Squadron, so we actually got to drive locomotives and everything else, all things railway connected. So it's been my life pretty much.
So Matt, that's wonderful. I love trains too. But church-wise, so obviously you're a runner, or I've been a runner, and you're still getting out and doing what you can. But obviously, the Christian side of it, again, were you brought up in a Christian family, or did you come to faith later on?
I was brought up in what I would call a religious family rather than a Christian family. very much, you know, it's my dad running a Sunday school and bits and pieces, and so, you know, always had to follow on. But was always encouraged to go to church, and so therefore went through the various youth groups, etc. You know, good upbringing. But again, I used to get bullied at school, you know, from about sort of the age of 12, 13.
Yeah.
Got bullied at school, so I went off the rails a little bit, because it's always one of those, you want to be liked, and if you want to be liked, you've got to start acting a little bit tough. So I used to do a paper round at the time, and it was quite interesting, because I was one of the trusted ones, if only he knew, because when I was behind the counter, the tobacco and the fags went into the pocket.
Right.
And of course I started supplying, you know, cigarettes, you know, baccy and sweets and bits and pieces. So and obviously then to fund that, I used to then start stealing money off my parents and my brother and my sister, who were both older than me. So yeah, not a good start, but that was all sort of around when I was sort of, you know, 12, 13, 14, you know, 15. Then just I'd sort of dropped out of school because it just wasn't much fun. And I didn't really try any of my exams, so basically left school with absolutely nothing. But in my last few months, I'd gone off, sort of played truant, went off up to Watford, which is a local area, so away from the school, so wouldn't get caught. And at the time, I just saw this advert on this shop window, these two cooks, you know, in full chef whites and everything else, you know, job opportunities, you know, not to miss. I didn't even look at the thing. I thought, oh, yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that. Went in and realised it was the Army Careers Office. And yeah, to cut a long story short, I sort of signed on the dotted line, and you know, got accepted in. But then, you know, a friend of ours from church then invited me to something called Mission London, which was part of the big Mission England back in 1984. It was just around my birthday, so I was just changing from 15 to 16.
Yeah.
I'd already got the army. I went up there, nothing really happened. Came home, a couple of days later, a friend asked me again, do you want to come back up again? Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So I went, I'd just been confirmed in the Church of England. And Louis Palau, who was the main speaker, Billy Graham was doing the rest of the UK, Louis Palau was doing London.
About that time.
At QPR's football ground. And there's a side story to that, because QPR's football ground is my football team's arch enemies, because I'm Fulham.
Right.
So really bizarre. But he talks about the fact that just because you're confirmed doesn't mean to say you're a Christian, doesn't mean to say you're converted, doesn't mean to say you're born again.
Yeah.
And something just pulled in me and went, you know what, this guy is really speaking something. And I really don't remember much more.
Yeah.
And until this guy started praying for me down on the turf of QPR football ground. So I heard the call, gone forward. And this is really what I want to share. And it ties in with the scripture, because what happened next, I didn't really understand until much later in my Christian life.
Yeah.
In the fact that at the time, the guy praying for me, as the counsellor, as they were, he's just said to me, just got this prompting that you're going to be joining the army. Is that right? And I went, well, how do you know that? Yes, ultimately I am. And he said, I don't suppose by any chance you're going to Junior Leaders Regiment down in Cologne, are you? And I went, yeah. And he says, right. He says, I'm going to just pray for you, because somebody will meet you there when you get down there. And I just thought, yeah. You know. But sure enough, you know, that was July, roll on October when I actually joined up. First Sunday, you have the church parade. You know, you've got 5 troops of new intake groups, NICs as we're called, new intake group. And again, it was, you know, we went to the to the church service, very C of E, as it was, and ultimately the padre then said, anyone who wants to stay behind for communion, please do so. and then you'll be marched back. Okay, fine. So everyone peeled out. 3 of us out of about 140, 150 stayed behind.
Yeah.
That takes balls.
Absolutely.
Sorry for you, ladies.
Yeah.
It takes balls to do that, especially when you're 16. Say, look, I am a Christian.
Yeah.
And then after we'd had communion, this staff sergeant came up to me and said, "You must be Matthew Lane." I went, "Yeah." And I says, "How do you know?" Because he wasn't in my troop.
Yeah.
And he says, "The guy that prayed for you gave me all your details."
All right. Yeah.
And that was just amazing. So from that point, I had study times with a staff sergeant, which you're not allowed to fraternize when you're in training. You're not allowed to fraternize with senior ranks.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But he used to bring a flask and a box of Jaffa cakes, and we used to go into one of the tin huts.
Yeah.
Literally lock the door and put the light on and have a coffee and Jaffa cakes and read the Bible.
Brilliant.
That was my introduction.
Yeah.
And again, throughout it all, God's just got this wonderful plan.
Yeah.
And again, that was just the start of it. There's so much more.
Brilliant.
But every time I look back on it, I never asked for promotions. I only ever once asked for a posting for any jobs since I came out the army in 2008 after doing 24 years.
All right. Yeah.
God's always laid that plan. So, I know you're going to ask me what my favorite scripture is. My favorite scripture, above all, is Proverbs 16:9.
Oh yeah.
Which is, man plans his course, but the Lord determines his steps. So basically, we can have our plans. There's nothing wrong in having our plans, but the Lord will make sure you go where He wants you to go.
Absolutely.
And again, looking back now through everything that I've gone through, with Kathy as well, my lovely wife, it's just amazing to see His hand on our lives. 31 years of marriage this year, and again, there'd have been many times where things could have gone wrong, have gone wrong. Yeah. We're still here, we're still together, and we're still as close now as what we ever have been.
Yeah,
but that's down to God.
Are you involved in a church? Obviously, where you are now, are you involved in the church now? What kind of things do you do?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously quite difficult at the moment because obviously with everything and being immunosuppressive, but yeah, everything's online. But we're part of a church called Pattern Church down here in Swindon, which is actually a church plant from Holy Trinity Brompton. Again, it's actually fantastic because we're actually in right next to the building, right next to Swindon Outlet Centre. Yeah, it's actually in the main car park of the Swindon Outlet Centre, which is brilliant as well. And it's part of the old design factory where they used to make all the patterns for the steam locomotives and everything else.
All right.
So again, it's got the link to the railways, but it's got link to GWR, God's Wonderful Railway, and everything. But it was actually called the Pattern Store, hence why it's now called the Pattern Church. So yeah, that's really fantastic. But one thing I will do, and I will shout out that any groups that have got an Alpha course going on, back it up in prayer. That's what we do. One of the things we do with the Christian Rail Association that I'm part of, and also our church. We pray for our Alpha courses, and we have a group of us that pray specifically for the Alpha course. So the same nights they're running, we'll also pray. And again, the things that we see, just amazing. People coming to the Lord, words that are given. And the word that came out last week was the buzzword was, when you become a Christian, God's upcycling you.
I like that. That's good. That's really good. Yeah. One thing I like to say, I say it many times. I don't know if I must have heard it somewhere, but it's make your footprints count for Christ. You know what I mean? So if you're running, if you're walking, whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah. Whatever little bit we can do for Jesus, can't we? If it's to put a t-shirt on, if it's just to run and be there to talk, or especially to pray for people, you know what I mean? Prayer is a massive thing to pray. And I hope people that are watching this will pray for you and your family. And next week, hopefully, God willing, we're going to meet the other side of you, which is Kathy, your wife. So I'm sure we'll have a good chat with her too. So is there anything else you'd love
Yeah.
to tell everybody, Matt? Anything that you think we've missed out?
I think, again, another favourite verse of mine is Proverbs 27:17.
Yeah.
As iron sharpens iron, so a friend sharpens a friend. And again, I think that's so crucial to us. I've got a love for men's ministry anyway, but
yeah,
that verse is just about getting alongside each other, having somebody that you can tell anything and everything to. It doesn't have to be running related at all. I've got a prayer partner that I've had for 20 odd years nearly. And again, nothing can get by us, both of us. So we're accountable. And you need that, I think, to push through. And I think that, it's just, it's like running, it's pushing through the tough times. It's pushing through, and again, as our strap line, with Hebrews 12:1-2, let us throw off everything that entangles us, fix our eyes on Jesus and run the race marked out for us with endurance. Yeah. We need, endurance. You've just got to push through the hard times.
What's great with Christian runners is like people, you're not on your own, you know what I mean? There's lots of Christians around the country that have a love for running. We've got a love for running, and it's great, especially this Facebook group. It's great just to listen, to chat, to post pictures. It's so wonderful to see that people are out there, are Christians, and want to share the love of Jesus. And I think what a wonderful way to do it.
Yeah, no, it's such amazing, and it's a privilege, and it's just getting out there again. Yes, can't run anymore, but you can, I may not be a Christian runner, but I'm a Christian walker. But it won't stop me wearing a vest when the summer comes in. Believe you me, I'll be out there with the vest on.
It's
especially
like with park runs, you know what I mean? Obviously I love to run them, but I enjoy being the tail walker sometimes, which is usually walking at the back, or even volunteering, you know what I mean? It's not just volunteering at park runs. There's many races throughout the country, and I know there's lots of us that organise races, and it's just great to give back. And I think that's been that Christian attitude, and Christian love is all about giving and not receiving. Just doing what
it's about supporting.
Absolutely.
It's about supporting. I used to love supporting Kent Road Runner Marathon.
Yeah.
As I used to run the route in reverse. It was 17 or 20 laps, depending which route they used.
Yeah.
But I was the only one that used to run the opposite way round.
Right.
And again, you used to get to know everybody because you cheer them on, and again, you'd see everybody.
Yeah.
Again, it was more done for just just to look up, make sure everybody was okay. Yeah. But it actually just turned into a really good thing that we used to loving.
Brilliant.
And it's supporting other people just gives you it. When you give, you get so much more back.
Absolutely.
Not that you're doing it to get it back, but it's that giving, and we've all got so much to give. So let's give freely, joyful heart.
Absolutely. Well, Matt, we could carry on talking for another hour. I'm sure we could. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's wonderful, and again, I'm looking forward to meeting your wife next week. And if you need to jump in and say anything you think, oh, I should have said that, and encourage people to do that, just jump in. You know, I'm sure she'll be fine.
I'll let Kathy tell her own story.
Yeah. So, well, it's great. Absolutely, it's a pleasure to talk to you. And we just pray that everybody will pray for you. And again, if they want to ask you anything, because you've done some amazing times, so we know you're a coach and a runner, obviously. But keep safe, and God will do. And God use you in many, many different ways. You know what I mean?
Thank you, and you.
Brilliant. Right. Lovely to see you.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you very much. We'll see you later.